the Best Lifing Show.
This podcast is your ultimate guide to holistic health and wellness.
Our team of Best Lifers shared their stories.
Wait. What is this Best Lifing?
We transform your life from ordinary
To extraordinary.
And help you live your dreams.
So now,
Let's start Best Lifing.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Best Lifing Show with Be Unique. My name is Julia Brodska, and I'm the owner of Best Lifing, where we teach people how to overcome limiting beliefs, create fulfillment in the 7 areas of life, and truly live your dreams. Now, this podcast is all about bringing together wonderful people from all walks of life to share their experiences and stories in hopes to inspire others and share their words of wisdom and advice. And today I have a very special guest with an insane story for you. Please welcome my wonderful friend, Matt True. Hello, Matt.
Greetings.
As I said, Matt has an incredible story, and I'm so excited to have you here with us today to share this amazing story and hopefully inspire some people. So without further ado, today's episode is life after being declared clinically dead. Now, I've never spoken to anybody else who has experienced this. Matt, I'm so excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what your journey's been like.
All right, so my name is Matt True. I live in the great state of Idaho in the city of Boise. And yeah, I've got a lot of things, crazy, unexpected things that have happened in my life. But, you know, it's those crazy things that actually make you the person that you are today, you know, and become the person you want to be tomorrow.
Fantastic.
So, you know, kind of starting off, like my parents moved me into we moved into this little ghetto town, you know, and it was like in the school we were at, it was like a drug infested place. And so, you know, no one in my family really had faith or anything. And they were looking for the closest school and everything that was like halfway decent private school. And it was a Christian school, this and that. So I went there right in junior high. And of course, everyone already has their cliques and everything in junior high and this and that. So I came in as like the outcast, you know. And that's actually where I found faith. It's a little school called Nampa Christian. And because I had no friends, I was like, well, I guess, you know, I became friends with our Creator, you know. And so I lived through all high school and this and that, you know, I had faith in this and that and tried walking the walk. And then, you know, I kind of learned, as everyone says, who you surround yourself with is what you become. And I always thought, like, you know what, Matt True has a crazy strong personality. No one can persuade or, you know, make him anything other than he wants to be, you know. So I get kind of into the street riding scene, you know, riding bikes and everything. And, you know, lived a pretty wild life, you know. And, you know, a couple years down the road, getting out of high school and everything, you know, I'm looking back and, dude, I've become everything I swore I would never be, you know?
Wow.
And I was like, I need to make some changes. But like, it's so easy to say, I'll change tomorrow. You know what I mean? We got today to work with, you know, we'll figure it out tomorrow. You know, it's kind of the procrastinational, you know, mindset, like procrastinational, should I say. And that way nothing ever gets changed, you know? So I ended up, I was riding and I was on my bike and everything, you know, and I was, you know, always doing stuff a little reckless, you know? And I had no helmet on, you know, I just had my t-shirt and my jeans. And I was riding on this freshly paved road next to one of my buddies and everything. And we're cruising and doing like first gear, like 85 miles an hour, going super fast, you know, and it's called a rolling burnout, you know, so you're leaned over the front of the bike just a little bit, you know, to take the weight off the back. You slip the clutch, you break the back tire loose, and the tire's sitting there spinning as you're doing like 80 miles an hour down the road, and the back tire's drifting, and it makes this white smoke and a smell like you never. Not many people do it because it's, you know, takes either no brains or a lot of balls, you know, and so I had no brains, to say the least, and so my buddies were in the same lane, and he's riding right next to me, you know, and he's like, teach me how to do that. You know, I'm not paying that much attention, you know, and I'm like all in good time, grasshopper, looking at him, you know, being all cocky. Like we're talking as I'm riding on the road, you know, we're doing 80 miles an hour. And I wasn't paying attention. All of a sudden I look up and the road was freshly paved, and it went to this old kind of rough asphalt, and the back tire caught, and it threw me up to a stoppie. So you're rolling on the front tire, like this, which I've rolled many stoppies, and it kind of like stunting and all this and that, doing dumb stuff. But I was up past balance point. So, I was slowing down, and the further the more you slow down, the further forward you're going. So I'm like looking down at the ground, I'm like, man, this is not good. I was like, so I'm trying to rock the bike back, get the back tire in the ground. And I rolled it for a bit, and I was like, I told my buddy, like, get out of the way, dude, I'm going down. So I'm like, well, try to make this the best possible, So I curled up in a ball and was skidding down the pavement on my back, and I felt like this just boom, this huge hit. And I look up and my bike's flipping like 3 times in the air, I'm like, that's cool. I can see that. That means I'm alive, Yeah. And so I ended up, I had road rash all down my back, and the bike was totaled out and everything, and I that night I went home and everything, and I tried to go to bed and everything. I was laying on my stomach, and I was, couldn't move, and my back was just thrashed. And I had an appointment. I was doing some real estate stuff and everything in the morning with a client. And one thing that drove me nuts was I was never late. And so I was like, all right, I've got 40 minutes to get there. It gives me a little bit for rush hour, yada, yada, yada. So I walk out, and there's like this voice, and it's like, read the Bible. Dude, I haven't read the Bible in years. It is too weird, But then I'm like, you know what? This is odd. I've never experienced this before. I was like, you got 5 minutes. That's all I got. So I randomly, I hobbled in, and was the only one at my house and everything. And I randomly opened the Bible. I didn't know where to read, And I opened to, it's a story about Paul and Silas, and they're in Europe, and they're like serving God and all this and that, and they're preaching, and they actually cast out a demon, and they got actually captured for doing that, for like disorderly type conduct in their culture. And so they took these whips and they like flogged them like this completely. They took off their shirts and laid them down and just like beat their backs, like just thrashed them, like, and like their backs are getting torn open. I'm like, my back, I couldn't even sleep last night. It's interesting, how I just randomly opened the story. So then they get taken into prison, and they're sitting in there, and they're laying on the prison floor, and they're singing praises to this God they got thrown in prison for. And this prison guard's like, you guys are nuts. Like, seriously, I want nothing to do with this craziness, And so this guard's only job is to keep everyone, accounted for in prison. If not, he's going to be, taken out, by the king. And so an earthquake happens, and the prison guard is like knocked out, and the prison door is open. Paul and Silas, they had the chance just to walk out and walk free, and leave this prison guard for dead. So the prison guard, he all of a sudden, he comes to, he wakes up, and he sees the doors open, and he's like, dude, I'm just going to get the easy part done. And so he gets his spear out, and he's getting ready to kill himself. And Paul and Silas are like, whoa. Every prisoner's here and accounted for. Don't take your life. And this prison guard's like, he goes, you had the chance just to leave me for dead and walk out of here, but you chose to stay here to save my life. And they said, tell me about this God that you guys are, you're talking about and that you're serving and this and that. It has to be real. And so, the prison guard actually gave his life to God and this and that because of their actions. I was like, you know what? I am so sick of talking, because I'm a decent talker, but actions aren't backing up what I'm saying. It's like if you say one thing, you got to do it. You can't say one thing and be another. So I kind of like rededicated my life. I was like, I need to get back on track to where I'm supposed to be, So for the next 6 months, I was living pretty intentionally, like trying to be the man that I call me to be and this and that, and get up every time I fell, rather than just like most people, you fall down, you just keep digging yourself a deeper hole, and have justification and reasons why you aren't being any better or trying to be better even, And so I've always, like, my drug of choice has always been adrenaline, That was always like my addiction. So I was like, you know what? I can't get away from this completely. I was trained to be a commercial helicopter pilot and everything at the time. And I had everything like monetarily at the time. I had a lifted truck, I had a lowered car, I had all the fun stuff. I had a job where I was flying tours, Grand Canyon tours, in Vegas, and had a stunting contract for riding bikes, for a clothing company and stuff. It was so much fun. It was a really fun life,
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll just kind of tone things down a little bit, get rid of the crotch rocket, this and that, and let's just get a 4-wheeler. 4 wheels is safer than 2, right? And so I, of course, get the biggest, most powerful, fastest, racing 4-wheeler you can get, a Raptor 700, And so I was actually going and was riding for like 3-4 months, and my buddy's like, hey, let's go up to St. Anthony sand dunes. I think they're like in the top 5 sand dunes in the United States of America, like in size and in popularity and stuff. And so I'd never ridden the sand before, and I went and got all these paddle tires and all this and that, and went up with buddies, and it was like a 3-4 hour drive to get up there. And so we get up there, and my buddy's like, dude, we're gonna party tonight, this and that. I was like, guys, it came all this way. When you guys sober up in the morning, I'll be riding. I was like, we can catch up. So they're like, okay. So I woke up, and no one was up, and I just kind of went out all by myself, and these there's so many people camped, like so close to each other and everything, and I was like riding out, and these guys like, you're going to ride by yourself? And these random people, they were kind of close to me, and I was like, yeah, dude, my buddies, they're sleeping off last night and this and that, and they're gonna meet up with me in a bit. And like, dude, we've ridden up here for the last like 3, 4, 5 years, and then you can ride with us. I'm like, okay, that's totally cool, dude. So I'm following them and everything, and that's kind of like how I've always been. I've always been, not amazing, but not absolutely horrible. And I had like kind of what my foundation in that. I was trying to show up for a girl when I was like 16. I was riding like motocross and everything, and I hit this jump, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be big baller, So I'm second gear, and I'm up in the air, I'm looking down, I'm like, oh crud, I should have been third because I didn't circle it, and I should have known it was a double, but it was only, I thought it was a single, so I cased it so hard, I came down and I ripped my ACL in half and tore my meniscus, had to get 2 knee surgeries, all this and that. So ever since then, I always circled everything, to make sure that it was a safe approach, and then the same with flying and everything, you always want to have situational awareness, know exactly what's going on and exactly what you're getting yourself into. So, we're up there riding, and everyone's starting to follow me because they're like, oh, this guy, we can learn how to do some semi-reckless activities and not get completely busted up doing it, So we go up like I think it's Widowmaker's name of it and this and that, and we're doing all this crazy stuff. And I know that there was something that came that wasn't, because I did not see this cliff, and cruising, doing everything. And, the doctors say I went 30 feet vertically and over 60 feet in distance, and I fly off this cliff. I think like a sandstorm or a dust storm or something came across, because I did not see this cliff, because I wouldn't have gone off it without looking, And we're in the sand dunes. What do you think is going to be at the bottom of the cliff? Logically, it would be sand, right? Mm-hmm. Well, no. I fly off. As it turns out, it's one of the few lava bed rock landings out there, So I fly off and I land just like you're supposed to, but my quad, it hit these rocks and it threw me off, and it split my helmet. Like, it literally is cracked. I still have it. It split my helmet in half in the top and like broke my face and tore everything. Then my quad bounced off the rock and it landed on my back and broke my back in 9 different spots. My buddies just see me disappear off this cliff, and they didn't know anything, And as I'm laying there, I actually was, kind of KO'd at that moment. I don't know if you can see it, but in the right here, there's 2 scars. But in the first chapter of the Bible, what was Satan, or in the Garden of Eden? He was a serpent, you know? And I'm laying there, and actually was clinically dead right there at the time, and I get bit by a rattlesnake on top of everything, you know? Whoa. It was just kind of like, it's so crazy. So my buddies come, and they get me, he somehow gets me awake, and they ended up calling Life Flight, and it's frustrating because I was a pilot, you know, and I don't even remember much of the helicopter because it was a twin-engine Augusta, and I don't even remember much of it, but regardless, they come, and they pick me up, and he's taken off, and he's heading to the hospital, and they're like, code blue, and I'm like, what's going, you know? And that when you're flying, if a person's code blue, especially in the medical field and such, that's where you start breathing, or, you know, your heart stops palpitating, you know. What do you got to do to get the heart started? You got to basically jumpstart you, like with electricity, you know, and that can coincide with electronics and aircraft and such, you know. So the pilot put it back down. I just remember, I was in so much pain. I remember briefly like escaping my body, you know. I was just like, oh, don't want to be here, you know. And he puts it down, and they put the garbage on me, you know, and electrocute me, get my heart going again. And they're flying in, and they got a hold of my family, and they're like, yeah, your son's been in a minor accident. You might want to come down. Because they didn't want him to get into an accident or anything, you know, driving 4 hours from Boise to past Idaho Falls. But so they just kind of had that feeling. So they all get in the car, and they knew something was up. And so they all drive down to Idaho Falls, and as we're flying in to the helipad, and it was July 29th, and it was like 103 degrees, and it was super, super, super hot, and it's like in the sand dunes. And so he's coming in just on a normal approach, you know, just getting ready to, you know, slowly just in this and that, like code blue again, you know, and my heart stopped. And I just remember briefly just like escaping my body, just the pain. That's all I could remember. And I was like, yes. And he puts it down in a steep approach, comes down, and it was like 19 degrees on the helipad, because it was like, you know, all dark, and the sun just hits it, and it was so hot. And I remember he put it down, and they got me going again. And I just remember being in like extreme pain. And I remember, man, it's so hot, like so hot. And they wheel me into the hospital, and I was in a coma for 3 days. And they didn't have a clue on my state of anything, you know. And the second day I was in a coma, it was crazy, because I remember that I remember this so like it was yesterday. But I remember hearing voices, and there was 2 of my friends who were there with me in the accident, and then there's some other doctors in the room, and they said, yeah, there's a really good chance he's going to be paralyzed, and even better chance he's going to be a vegetable. And I don't remember doing this, but I know that in, you know, my normal state of mind, I would not want to live under those conditions. So I was on full life support, and it's a tube that goes down your throat, and, you know, IVs and everything. And they, like, I used to actually sing and be musical in a band and everything, you know, and they, I ended up ripping out the life support tube and everything. I actually tore my vocal cords and tore out all the IVs. And I think there was 5 guys in the room. They all had to hold me down, and they had to get handcuffs, I guess, to chain me to the bed. And I guess when I calmed down, they said, well, we know he's not paralyzed, and he's had some sort of cognitive response, you know, when, you know, we talked about this. So there's hope, you know. So 3rd day I was in a coma. I actually came out of coma. And you know, on the EKG, the beep, 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 you know, that tells your heart and everything, you know, it all of a sudden was like flatline. And I completely like escaped my body. And I mean, it's hard to even describe. It like gives me the goosebumps to even talk about it. But I came in this room, it was like the most beautiful color white, like nothing I've ever seen. And in the back of the room, there's this man standing there, and he had like just this beautiful robe on. And I had the best feeling I've ever experienced my entire life. And I've experienced things I probably shouldn't have. I've experienced lots of good things in this life. But then all of a sudden I had this feeling of like disgust and like unworthiness and just guilt, you know? And I had this battle going on in my head. And I said, Matt, you have to go tell him. Like, I didn't even know. I knew it was God in his earthly form, you know? And I walked up and I said, I am so sorry. I said, I lived a lot of my life for myself and I have nothing to do with you. I said, I don't deserve to be here in your presence. And he said, look how many people's lives you've you've directed and pointed towards me. He said, you've done a good job. And as soon as he said that, like, just all the guilt and all the garbage feelings that I had were gone. It was just that good feeling, you know? Then I said, like, the stupidest thing ever. I was like, if you want me to go back, I'll go back. But I just want to stay here in your presence. And I said, I can't handle being, you know, paralyzed or being a vegetable. And he kind of gave me an option. He said, you can stay here in my presence if you like. And I said, I just want to do what you want me to do. And he said, it'll be awesome watching you do my work. And as soon as he said that, I was sent back in my body. And I was in the hospital for a month. I had to learn how to talk, had to learn how to walk, ABCs, everything all over again. And literally I had everything like kind of monetarily in my life all, you know, charted and planned out. And, you know, I learned that literally nothing that I experience will ever compare to just a glimpse of the next life that's awaiting, you know? And it's just, you know, everyone's going to experience being in the presence of their creator. And whether you get to stay in his presence, it's going to be determined by kind of choices you make down here on this earth. So it's like, I'm trying to find my reason and my purpose. I feel like I should be doing so much more. And I don't know what the heck it is. And it's just, I don't know, once you experience and get a glimpse of the next life, nothing can even come close. You know, like I have an awesome wife and a daughter and this and that. And, you know, it's awesome, but it doesn't even compare to being in the presence of, you know, the God who created you, you know? So that's all. I just encourage people to look at maybe the next chapter and open their eyes to maybe what he's trying to show them.
Wow. What a story. I'm like, I've got goosebumps. I nearly cried a few times there. Oh, where do I start with the questions? So many for you. So I guess my first one is like, what was the first what was the first feeling you had coming back in?
It was honestly the most pain I've ever felt. And he even told me, he said, it's going to be a long, painful recovery. And literally, like, the doctors say that 96 to 98% of people with the severity of my TBI are anywhere from a 3-year-old to a 3rd grade level mentally for the rest of their life. So I'm one of the 2 to 4% of the rare recoveries. But my body was in, like, I used to be 6 foot tall, but like I broke my back, you know, and that's a whole nother deal. I broke my back one other time snowboarding, but I broke my back 9 different spots from this accident. And so I have 9 compound fractures and 1 burst fracture. So I shrunk 2 inches. So it's bone on bone in one of my vertebrae. And so it's just like brutal, you know, like I was, you know, at a younger age, I already shrunk 2 inches. So it was pretty funny. But regardless, you know, it was in a ton of pain and still feel it every day. But
you're unstoppable. That's amazing. Seriously, I'm like, yeah. I'm so mind blown. And I guess, like, how long ago did this happen?
This was July 29th of 06.
06. And tell me what would be a word that you sort of would use to describe your emotions about that today?
Oh, it still feels like it was yesterday. Like, literally when I tell the story, it's like I still get goosebumps every time I tell it. It's like it feels like it was yesterday when it actually happened. And it was, it's so real that you can't make a story like that up. And when you tell it, you get shivers and goosebumps, and it's just, it's so, it's crazy.
I can feel it through you for sure, through your energy as well. And you're a great storyteller, man. Like, I couldn't have. Wow. So then, did it send you on a bit of a spiritual journey after that? Tell us about that. I would assume.
Oh, it was, well, actually, it was insane. So this was like a month. Okay, so I was in the hospital for a month. And this is where I can actually feel with people who, even after like reading your book and stuff, people who have been in like different situations and circumstances with, different substances and all these different things, you can, when you haven't been through stuff like that, you can't relate with them, and you have sympathy but not empathy, So I've been through pain. I've been through all the, the crazy stuff that's entered your body, to help, relieve the pain, all this and that. And I was out for a month, out of my house. I finally came back in, and the first day that I was there, it was the craziest experience, because I was taking a whole bunch of painkillers and stuff, to X period, every part of the day, and to get me back, and doing physical therapy and rehab and all this garbage. I was in a full body cast for 3 months, and I literally went down. I took like 12 different like oxy, just like hard like painkillers and this and that. And this pain would not go away. It was like this deep pain in your bones that is like unmanageable. Like you just can't even relate until you experience like this deep bone pain. And it was crazy, because it's the first time I've ever even dealt with like suicide or anything like that, And I had a pistol sitting on my desk, and I went down and I tried like containing this pain for like over an hour. I kept going downstairs to get more pain pills, and it would not go away. And I picked up the gun and I put it to my head, and I said, I don't want to be here, because just a month ago I was in the presence, of our Creator and such. And I did not want to be anywhere close to where I was. And I had it to my head. And the closest, we've all thought about, what would it be like if I was gone, but not like seriously entertain the notion, And I heard, it was like an audible voice that says, "You came back here for me." And I crud, because my last name's True, and that's what I've always stood by, is truth, and you're only as good as your word. That's what I've always stood by. And I said, I'll come back here if you want me to come back. And so literally I put the stupid gun down, and I laid down. It was the first time I've ever just like passed out from pain. So, and then I was out for, I think, like 20 some hours, just KO'd in my bed, and I just kept slowly building up from there. But then I was just wondering, like, what is my purpose of being here, And I honestly, I think like what you've experienced too is like telling your story and seeing your story actually help people through their dark times, and like experiences you've experienced is like what is so rewarding in life, is genuinely helping your fellow brothers and sisters. That's the whole purpose and point of life, is to help mankind,
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Wow, Matt, what an amazing story. And I'm sure we're definitely going to have you back on this show, for sure. If you're keen to visit, I would love to have you back again. But this brings us to the end. Unfortunately, we have to keep it to 30 minutes. But if anybody wants to, ask Matt a question or reach out for a one-on-one, Matt, you're happy to do that, right?
Absolutely, yeah. If you guys got any questions, anything, I'd love to reach out and share my experience with you.
Yeah, so just send us your questions or send us your requests. You can do it either on our website by submitting a request, which is bestlifing.com, or just write to hello@bestlifing.com, and we'll reach out to Matt and we'll get him onto you. And then other than that, if you want another show with him, send us some topics and we'll come, we'll put it on and we'll get it going. But thank you so much for your time and for joining us and sharing all of that wisdom. Before you go, what would you like to leave the audience with, and your one big word of advice that you think people should really take away, for to be able to implement into their life?
So yeah, it honestly, from my experience, it's most important to kind of live in the now. Don't live in your past, and don't live in all the what ifs, might be's, could be's of the future, and honestly try to dive in a little bit deeper and try to explore a connection with your creator or what created you. Start asking questions to what that might be. And it could open a crazy new envelope to some pretty wild rides in the future. And it will all be for the better. That's for sure.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
You're very welcome. Look forward to talking to you guys.
That's it for today. Thank you for joining us.
If you enjoyed the Best Lifing Show and you want to get in touch,
You can find and follow us on all social platforms or visit our website, bestlifing.com.
Be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review.
Till next time, mates.
Stay blessed and best lifing.